So I'm not about to go grab a tutu and buy a lottery ticket, but this movie was better than I anticipated. I would hesitate to call it good, but it was better. In fact, I would say it's definitely better than the second one, and it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but I remember the first one being a bit more fun than this one, and that's kind of where the pros of this one comes in over the second one. There's a lot more fun to be had in this, kinda, until stuff happens. But the one thing I will say is this is a very misleading title because it says Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore, except one, yeah, that's part of the movie, but that's like saying Star Wars Episode 6, the Ewoks find a new god. It's part of the movie, but that's not the whole thing, or even the driving thing of the movie. Realistically, this would be Fantastic Beasts and the Rigged Election. Because I've seen some weird forms of elections in, fantasy worlds and whatnot. One of my favorite is Gravity Falls, where basically it's a weird take on like popular votes where the people throw bird seed at the candidate they like, and ideally the more bird seed you have, the more attractive you're going to look for this massive eagle that's supposed to land on you and peck you, and then you become the leader of the town. It's crazy, but hey, it's something. And this one, they do have an election of sorts, and I'm guessing it's by popular vote, potentially. They don't really go too much into wizard politics, which I guess is a good thing. And except now there's a creature that looks like Bambi, if it had a little bit of scales. And basically, it can choose who is the purest of hearts and the best choice and the most powerful to lead the wizarding nation. And I have issues. First off, pure of heart. Once again, that is the most loosest and most, honestly, one of the worst ways to write a character is the whole pure of heart thing. One of the best ways I've seen it done, though, is in Young Justice, and the episode Secret, I believe is what it was called, where there's a sword of Beowulf, if I remember correctly, and basically you can only wield it if you're pure of heart. So most people think you have to be a good person, except the guy who wields it is pure evil. Like, he's given up everything he has of his humanity. He's gone full dark side. Ironic, because dark side would show up in another season. But he is pure in that regard. So, now they've then kind of rectified that and say it's pure goodness and pure. But the problem is with that is it's still up to interpretation, because pure of heart, are you pure good? Do you mean there's no harm upon other people? Because there's no character in this that would fit that. The closest I would say would be like Newt Scamander, who is good in this movie because he's been good in all of them. But my biggest issue with him is that he's a driving force, but he's not the main character. In fact, I would be tough to say who is the main character in this movie, because over the entire last three, I mean, Newt was the main character in the first one, I would say, with Jacob being the tag-along. But this one, it's all over the place, and everyone's running their own plot lines. It's kind of like asking who's the main character in Game of Thrones. In the beginning, you would say, oh, it's easy. It's Ned Stark, Sean Bean, and then stuff breaks off and goes in different directions. And some could almost say Daenerys too, but that's where you get the wishy-washy stuff, because there's all these stories that they're running alongside with each other. Even if it's going for the same plot line, it's a little jarring, and we really don't get to spend that much time with these characters, and the time we do spend with them in certain scenarios are really good. I still say this should have been about Jacob, or Newt, or even make it about Dumbledore, but they're so concerned with everything else going on with Grindelwald that none of them are actually driving it. Say what you will, Harry was the driving force behind Harry Potter and all the movies. Even if he wasn't the hero, I would say, he was the driving force. I still say the hero of the Harry Potter franchise is Neville Longbottom, or even Hermione Granger. Some could say maybe Ron, but mostly it's those two that do all the heavy magic and all of the planning and show true bravery in the face of overwhelming odds. And Harry is just the chosen one who gets to go along for the ride, and everyone says how great he is when, I mean, he has power, don't get me wrong, but... And that's one thing I like about Newt. He's not the chosen one. He's not this big, super powerful, almighty wizard. They show off Dumbledore's capabilities with that, which are cool, but Newt's just the everyman. He knows what he knows. He's a zoologist, which, first off, he says he's the only magical zoologist. I would want that dream job if that was in the magical world, because there are creatures in there that will kill you with a drop of a hat. So I want to know all about those magical beasts and how to not die from them. Magic can only do so much. But, so, once again, the Fantastic Beasts, what they few are in this movie. There's a few of them. They're in the beginning, they have a little show up in the middle, and there's obviously the big thing at the end where the Bambi has to choose who the ruler is. And, yeah, they look good, but at the same time, it's not about Dumbledore's secret. I mean, it's mostly about his blood pacts with freaking Grindelwald, that they can't hurt each other. And how that gets undone is, J.K. Rowling, I know you're writing the screenplay, I know you're doing all this stuff, and you've definitely improved over the second movie. I will give you credit there. There's a lot of improvement made, but you're still trying to write this like a book, and because of that, you are literally just sticking to the hard code of just this scene, this scene, this scene. You need to find a way to smooth your plot lines out in order for them to naturally flow. Because there were times where I forgot this was going on. I forgot, oh, Newt's got to go to Germany's secret prison, basically, even though it's more of an execution block. I'm just going to call it what it is. But then we spend time with Jacob and this new professor. I forget her name, but she's really cool. Instead of having these characters that we know already and seeing how they can build up. Newt and his brother don't get that much time together, especially if I remember correctly from the second one. Didn't Newt's brother's girlfriend get killed? Like, there's not really that much of a follow-up with that, if I remember correctly. I know someone died, and I think it was someone importantly tied to them. I would have to go back and rewatch it, but I don't want to, because that movie was long and boring. This one had fun. And then you have Jacob and Queenie, who were done horribly in the second one. And when stuff happens and I can't even say when they have time together, because they don't. The movie goes out of their way to actively keep Jacob away from her, and it hurts the character. Because when he gets recruited again, because he keeps getting recruited for this stuff, it's because he has a heart. It's because he's willing to face the fears of being woefully underpowered to everybody around him, but he's still going to stay true to his heart, and he's going to go for the woman he loves. And that's a very powerful thing. And it's why I said Neville is the hero of the Harry Potter franchise. He's not the strongest, but he will do whatever he can to survive and make sure his friends survive. It's actually a really good trait, and one I hope to see more in other movies. Like I said, if this was Jacob's journey into the wizarding world, and he gets sucked in with Grindelwald is trying to kill everybody, and he makes his friendship with Newt, and they go on these adventures to try to stop him and everything, that could work. And you could think this is kind of like that, but even Jacob and Newt don't spend that much time together in this. So when stuff later happens on, it makes sense because of the previous movies, but as a standalone movie with a connection, you really don't get that much. And even in the second one, if I remember correctly, they did a lot of stuff away from each other then too. Like, they were together, but there was so much going all over the place and going into different teams. It's very disjointed, and it seems they're trying to rush character growth and character plot without showing the build-up and the setup for it, because you have all these characters. Even the guy from the previous one, the second one, whose sister dies in the boat thing and everything, he's a Lestrange, and there's that whole weird isn't baby swap, whatever. He's in this, and they set up like he's supposed to be the spy, but they do nothing with it. Like, you have a few scenes, but it doesn't amount to anything. Like, there's a big will he, won't he, what side he'll choose. But even with that build-up, it's like, okay, clearly this is going to happen because you've built nothing up that this character would actually do this. You've hinted at possibilities, but you haven't shown any of his actions. He's been talked to, and that's the problem. There's a lot of talking, not enough action being taken. I don't mean like you have to walk into a room, start blasting people with wands. I mean, we need to see people's conviction, devotion, and direction. There's a lot of going to rooms, sitting down, talking, and then they'll go to another place. Go to that room and talk. And then maybe they'll go off in their own little branches, and then something small will happen, even though it has big consequences. But it's quick and then done. And then we're back to another room about talking and back to another room. Also, I have an issue here, and it kind of shows when you have the power, you can make whatever you want happen. Because Grindelwald, and this gets into a little bit spoiler, but it's in the beginning, he gets absolved of all of his crimes by the German ministry, and it seems like he basically bribed the guy of all things. And then something happens, and they try to frame Jacob for trying to assassinate Grindelwald. But here's the problem. They know Jacob's a muggle. They know he can't use magic. So how can you attempt to assassinate somebody when you have no means to do it? It's like if I walked up to somebody and did this, that's attempted assassination. You could say I threatened them. You could say I made him uneasy. You can't say this is attempted assassination. Threat of an assassination, maybe, but not attempted assassination. So there's a lot of kind of contrivance that I've come to expect with her at this point. But at least the scenes looked good. And the magic on display, when it wasn't just boom, 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 beam struggle, was cool and fun. So when I watched this one, I'm not exactly sitting there waiting for it to be over. I could kind of see where things were going. The only thing is, if you're paying attention, you can kind of see how it's all going to pay off in the end, which kind of makes a lot of our characters' efforts a little bit underplayed. I know the whole point was a counter-op, basically, where you have to mix people up. But to give Grindelwald the power of perception and seeing the future, and he's got Queenie who can read minds. And yes, she's not entirely devoted to him. She's still in love with Jacob, and she's trying to find a way to work everything out, even though she's working for the guy who wants to kill all the muggles. But, you know, that's a hangover from the second movie. But yeah, it's fun, but at the same time, I can see the faults in it. It's noticeable. If I was to watch this again, I would skip a good amount of the scenes, just because, honestly, they kind of drag a good bit. And honestly, even the third act, while it has some nice action stuff, the problem is when you introduce all these different types of spells and magical powers, it's tough to gauge who's the strongest. Is this a fair fight? Are they that good? Or is the script just giving it to them? Like, when Dumbledore does his fights, it's all out, and you can see him going completely all out. Like, he's clearly showing all what he has available and what he's capable of. When Newt's brother and the professor and all these guys are duking it out as well, we mentioned that they're good, and it makes sense that they're good given that one's a professor of defense magic and one's literally the head of the British, ministry, basically, I would say. So, or I guess Secret Service, I guess, technically. They call it Ordos, but I can't remember what that abbreviation was. So, it's not bad, it's just that there's no depth. Like, going back to the Sonic movie from earlier, which I'm sorry if you saw that video. Like I said, overheated. This thing ain't overheating now. I ain't overheating. Should have done this later, but whatever. So, in Sonic, we can kind of see what Sonic's power is. We can see what Knuckles' power is. We can see what Tails is. What Robotnik's robots are capable of. So, there's an honest and understanding power scale of what they have, and nothing seems completely out. Like, we know what they're capable of and what their power is, so that when something happens, we can say, oh, this actually is a very important thing. This may not be as strong. Even when they go all out, they cannot do this. They have their limits. With Magic and Harry Potter, they've never really set what the limit is. And it's all based on the spell and the devotion and connection to it. That's why Harry's mom's protection spell protected him from the killing curse. But with that being the case, I'm pretty sure these people want to live, and those devoted to Grindelwald legitimately want him to succeed. So how is their power and devotion any different from the others? It's wonky. Magic's always been one of those tough things. But this is just the stuff I've thought about, considering I've seen 10 Harry Potter films, technically. I think there was 8. Yeah, 8, and then 2, so this would be number 11. So the magic system's always been a little bit wonky on it, but, I mean, it's a nitpick, really. And like I said, at its core, this is not a outright bad film. It's very slow, very character scene, I would say. But some of the scenes are really good, and they really do pump the characters. Jude Law still kills it as Dumbledore. And I'm sure that opening scene is going to be cut from China, but yeah, whatever. And I will say this, when they did the whole Dumbledore gay thing, they make it natural. Like, they don't... You could replace Grindelwald with a female, and this type of dialogue and this type of connection would feel the same. Jude Law gives it his all. And that's one of the better things I would say when it comes to character representation of that type of stuff in movies is they are gay or bi or whatever, but that's not their whole character. It's an aspect of them that they play off of. In this case, he plays off the fact that Dumbledore is gay, he was in love with Grindelwald, he made these mistakes, and he still has a connection of a jilted lover because he realized that all these things were bad and he's trying to learn from it and get better. So, there's that. And if that was the whole movie, that would have been good, but like I said, it's about a freaking rigged election, basically, or trying to rig an election, which... Yeah, no, it wasn't much of a follow-up after stuff happened, so I'm like, some people should be in jail. Because it's going to be tough to talk your way out of this one, but, I mean, it wraps up quickly. From what I was told, everyone thought it was going to be a trilogy. J.K. Rowling says she has a 5-film idea, but they haven't started writing the script for number 4, so this could be a while, but, I mean, if we don't get anything for a while, it's not like a sour note to end on. If Fantastic Beasts ended on the second movie, it would be really bad. This one, I'm kind of curious where things are going to go, because Grindelwald, once again, has been outed. He can't pull the same trick twice. I mean, we're kind of almost back at a square one scenario where he is a wanted criminal in a sense for no longer murdering muggles, but for rigging an election and killing something. But, I mean, we'll see. I'm legitimately curious, you know, just, it's kind of like after the season 1 of Cowboy Bebop. You already done all this. What do you got left? What? Seriously, what do you have left? Because at this point, we're at movie 3 of 5, and you kind of let the villain with not that much capability. Now, a good writer would, and I'm using this night, would have number 4 be the setup to everything, and then 5 be the payoff. So, it's tough for them to build up when he's got not that much, but we'll see. I mean, they did it well with Harry Potter, and honestly, the Half-Blood Prince, followed by the Deathly Hallows, was done really well in the books and the movie. I know they had to split into 2, but whatever. So, we'll see. But yeah, not the worst movie I've seen. Not the best. I'm not, like I said, going to go out and get that lottery ticket. But, you know, it wasn't bad. If you like the Harry Potter stuff and you're a diehard fan, you won't be upset leaving the movie. If you really like the second one, you'll love this one. And if you were kind of, man, that second one did it for me, but you still kind of like the other Harry Potter films, this one's fine. It's a decent one. See, definitely for a matinee, full price, might be asking a little much if you're not that big of a fan, or just wait for it to go on whatever streaming site they have it on. I think it would be on HBO if I'm correctly, because it's Warner Brothers. But anyway, y'all, like I said, this is what happens when my phone doesn't overheat and I can go into a deep analysis of my feelings towards the movie. But either way, glad to be back. Should be doing those other ones. But coming up next is something I haven't done before. And I haven't done this since the Kingdom Hearts retrospective, which kind of fell flat. Thank you, Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm actually going to be reviewing a recent game that came out that I don't think a lot of people have talked about and doesn't really get the respect it deserves for what it is. So, tune in next time where I'll be doing one of my first game reviews in a long time, when I will be reviewing the Nintendo Switch game Triangle Strategy. Look it up, it's great. But anyway, so, with all that being said, guys, I look forward to seeing you all next time. Hope you enjoy these reviews. Once again, sorry for the fans of Sonic. Even right now, I'm starting to get a little heated, but at least my phone's not going to catch on fire like it did the other time. Metaphorically, not physically. But anyway, y'all, see y'all next time. Later.